Welcome. About Tesla, let's get started right away. What's the latest on the software updates?
Hey, Yaman. I only have a few minutes, so I'll be brief and just get straight to it. So the big news this morning is that we have a new version out. It's currently going to just the early access customers, but it's out going to beyond just the employees. So that's version 12.5.6, and it has right now it's only going to hardware 4. I don't know if that's just initial rollout or it will change, but for now that's where we are. And it has quite a few welcome features in it. So the big thing is, of course, the end-to-end on highway. So similar to 12.5.5 that went out to Cybertruck. So now this one now has the end-to-end. We'll see how it works, but it's a promising development. Then it also has some other minor but very welcome changes. Like they list in the release notes, they list early and more natural lane change decisions. So that was a common complaint about late decisions. It has updated driver profiles. They have now changed from the auto set speed, they switched to max speed. So that's probably
What's the difference?
well, I guess it's supposed, instead of just going to, like, the most common speed, it will default to the maximum speed. I don't know. I haven't received it yet, so I haven't tried that. And so hopefully it will, because in the previous versions, we often had a problem like it would go way below the speed limit for some considerations and everything. So hopefully this change will increase the speed to the maximum if possible. But we'll find out soon. The other change from
Let's break it up a little bit. Does anyone else on the board have the update? Nobody.
Probably not. It's just only early access group, and not even everyone. Just those who have hardware 4. So
Okay, I'm not really clear on the difference between like what changed on max speed update.
yeah, we'll have to wait for Omar to show up, so maybe he can explain it in more detail. One thing that he
Okay,
did mention.
let me go to sorry, let me just go and figure this out. Let's go to
Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but the YouTube is a little bit scratchy. Down, it's a little off.
okay, thank you very much. All right. Amateur hour. All right. Amateur hour. Give me 1 second. Yeah, what was the change in the max speed update?
I wasn't posting anything about Max.
Okay.
I posted
Dallas, were you able to tell the difference?
Not particularly on that, but I saw the driver profiles were adjusted.
No, I'm asking for one specific question. Can anyone on the board answer the one specific question? Okay, so that means about Tesla, your explanation did not communicate to any single person. Not a single person understood what you said.
I don't have an explanation. I'm just reading what the release notes say.
Okay, but that's not what I need, because everybody can do that, right? We need, like, if you talk and nobody understands, what is the point? All right. 12.5.6 changes vision-based attention monitoring with sunglasses. Where is this from? This is end-to-end on the highway. Earlier and more natural lane changes, updated driver profiles, and auto speed has been updated to max speed. Let's see what the difference is here. We- we're moving on. Sorry. Ellie, what's new with you?
Yeah, man. Nothing new with me about the situation here, and something small about Tesla in Europe. So about the Middle East, Sinwar, the Hamas leader, Sinwar, resurfaced, and now he's talking with the Qatar to trying to navigate, maybe to see if we can go to truce. And they telling him not to focus on him and Hamas, but try to release all the hostages. So that's good. And on Tesla, fantastic for the European countries. Now long range has rear wheel drive with 702 kilometer. That's WLTP, and around 600 kilometers UP, your measurement, the American measurement.
Alexander, is the long range being released in Europe big news over there? Are you hearing it from people? Is there rise in orders?
I got a mail of it from Tesla today, actually. But I've actually seen something that was surprising. I've seen delivery trucks with Teslas now to today, actually, and this is the beginning of the quarter. So something is up. I think this is the Model 3s that he's talking about.
Yeah, I think this is a major milestone in Europe, and I think it's going to be in high demand. But I guess we'll see as the numbers roll in.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to buy any other rear wheel drive car that is electric in Europe right now.
Dallas.
Yeah, can I ask, like, when I do a conversion from kilometers to miles there, how does that vehicle have such a longer range? Can you go into detail on that, Ellie?
Well, it's just the long, it's the long range lithium battery. It's about 77 kilowatt, if I'm not mistaken. But the big difference is the way European measure the whatever you want to call it. The WLTP is way less accurate than the EPA that you guys have. So basically, in Europe, they say 700 kilometers, which is 463, I guess, miles. And for you guys, what you guys see in the US, the EPA, it's just shy of 600. So that's 436. So, it's just different measurement.
Yeah, EPA seems to be the closest one, Dallas, to answer your question. And there are various conversions out there. You can multiply it, divide it by a certain number, but it's not going to apply to every single use case, obviously. That's just on average. Bull?
Hey, Aman, Dirty Tesla posted about this max speed feature. I don't know if you saw the post, but very briefly from the notes on his post, You can set a max speed. So usually FSD tracks the traffic or the max speed limit based on the speed limit sign. And you can now say, I'm willing to go up to like 10%, for instance. So if it's 70, I'm willing to go up to 77 miles an hour. That's what the max speed means, according to what he posted.
Okay, thank you. And Russ in live chat says max speed allows the driver to set a maximum percentage allowable over the speed limit. Or the set speed would often go 30% over speed limit. The max can be set different for chill, average, and hurry modes. Wonder why they switched from hurry to aggressive. I guess it's branding kind of thing or something else. We'll see. And Omar said, thank you, Lincoln. Omar says Tesla's AI is now so advanced that the Autospeed team has figured out a way to completely replicate the mind and driving style of a 9-year-old grandma. If you miss your grandma, Tesla FSD is available to remind you of her anytime for just $99 a month. All right. Alexander, what else is new from Europe?
What else is new from Europe? Yeah, there's a lot of happening all the time. Only sad things. But there have been some questions about the UNECE meeting about a month ago. The meeting is about setting the framework for ADAS in Europe. And there were questions if I think that hands-free will be allowed in Europe in 2025. And my take on this topic is that when the meeting was held, Sweden said, well, we don't really trust the data. We think that driver engagement will be less on this kind of ADAS system. And yeah, but that meeting will not decide what framework will be set. It will be only like a reference that they use when they're going to decide on this framework work. So I think hands-free will come to Europe, but maybe not in 2025. Maybe at least not in Q1.
Okay. Hands-free, not in 2025, says Alexander. All right. In Europe.
At least not Q1, maybe Q2.
Okay, I mean, as long as there's a big difference between saying it's not going to come in 2025 versus saying it's not going to come in Q1. So which one is it?
I said at least not in Q1. That was said earlier.
Okay. Paul Ryan.
Hey, I'm just not logging in. I'm just kind of getting acquainted. So just say good morning, everyone, and thank you for the show as usual.
Thank you. All right. Alexander, there was some news around tariffs. Go ahead.
Yeah, also, I got a question if I think we're going to get ass in Europe. And definitely we're going to get ass because we have stupid ass right now. And there's no reason why we can't get smart ass instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think FSD in Europe is just primarily limited by regulation. I mean, it's pretty much only limited by like regulation at this point. I mean, this software is doing really well in US, improving at a fast pace. And, you know, Tesla has the fleet size in Europe to do the same in Europe. And yet, European Tesla owners are way behind, like years behind of American Tesla owners on FSD, which is a shame. So the regulators are trying to protect their local automakers. And that's why my next question for you is around how are they doing? What is the news with Volkswagen closing down factories in Germany? What's the news around European regulators putting tariffs on imports from China? And also there's rumors or China is apparently getting ready to increase tariffs on imports from Europe as well.
Yeah, obviously the European car companies don't want China to do the same against Europe because that's a major market that you want to be in. And yeah, that's probably not good for Volkswagen. And also, this will probably affect like tariffs on like batteries and stuff also. And we like to build electric cars in Europe. You need batteries from Asia.
Yeah. Volkswagen heavily lobbied for Germany to vote against these proposed tariffs. And this is why, because they know China is going to retaliate. And Volkswagen and a couple other German automakers make billions of dollars in profits in China. So that's going to be cut off in near future at the wrong time. At the wrong time, as interest rates are higher for longer, and they're getting disrupted left and right. All right. JC, how are you? Bring some positivity, please.
Hey, Yaman, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's awesome out here. I'm at the Grand Canyon today.
Oh yeah, you're hiking?
Yeah, I just got back up. I went all the way across the south rim, and I went down a bit to get some better shots. Don't worry, I'm alive. I didn't become a statistic, and I just got back up to the main path and hiking my way back. It's probably about 5 miles from my Tesla, but no, it's just gorgeous out here. I was gonna attach some pictures, not to the main thing, but to like the discussion. I'll send some pictures to y'all. But yeah, FSD, man, I'll tell you what, Yami, you want me to give you a commercial for FSD, for Tesla FSD right now?
Do it.
Is I'm 55 years old. I'm a retiree, just retired a week ago. And I've driven 1,500 miles in 3 days. I've hiked 6 miles into the Grand Canyon, and I'm heading back. So I'll have 12 miles done today. I hiked about 10 miles into the Paladura Canyon 2 days ago, and I hiked the El Morro National Monument yesterday. There's no damn way in hell I could have done that without Tesla FSD. I showed up, I pushed a button, it said take me to Grand Canyon. It dropped me off at the visitor center, and I was refreshed. I mean, that's what it's about.
Yeah. Thank you very much, JC. Appreciate your input. And good luck with your
Right?
hike.
I mean, I know we
I
talk
know
about
it
city
can get
driving, and that's the litmus test.
yeah. Your connection is really bad. I think we're talking over each other. So I'm going to move you down. Thank you very much, and good luck with your hike, Alexander.
I wanted to ask JC a question, but RIP.
What's your question?
No, it was if he tried any really sketchy roads with FSD.
All right. Sammy, how are you doing? Can you guys hear Sammy? All right. Man, what a start. Amazing. Who's got a good connection? All right. Dallas, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. What do you think is the most important news of the day?
Man, I'm excited to get that new software update. I tweeted earlier kind of discussing my feelings on the whole layout of how these things are rolling out. And if you want to touch on that, I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think as a beta tester, if you're paying monthly, you should get beta updates. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I think that's kind of the way it should be. And I get that there's guys out there that they want to run these things through, but I think you should be able to toggle that on, kind of like how there's advanced and regular software for like non-FSD users. Like, do you want to get the advanced versions or not? I think you should be able to opt into the beta program and then, sign that you're going to be paying attention and all sorts of stuff. But, I think I'd love to be able to get all these point updates, because when people say, oh, now shipping, it's like, we might not ever even see that version.
Yeah, that's true. First, it's not called beta anymore, right? So we have to, early access program. You want to say you want to be part of the early access program.
Yeah, I want that to be an opt-in, is what I'm saying. For beta.
Yeah, well, the thing is though, they decide. Because Sammy, what's going on? First, you come up here, you have a bad connection. Now you come up, you're unmuted. What is this?
I think it's a glitch in the spaces.
No,
I
then
didn't
get
unmute.
out of here. This is ridiculous. I'm not gonna tolerate. No mic for you. All right. All right, Dallas. It's not a beta program. You want to say you want to be part of the early access program, and obviously not anybody can be a part of the early access program because the team decides where the software goes to. There's a lot of different considerations, I'm sure, some of which we know, some of which we don't know, how they select people. But you want to. Would you like to make your case? I'll give you 1 minute to make your case why you should be part of the early access program.
Safe driver.
No,
Definitely.
hold on. First of all, how do you pronounce the head of the Tesla AI team's first name?
Ashok.
Nope, failed. No early access program for you. Jimmy?
Yeah, the problem that you're facing is you don't want people to be part of the early access because you don't know who's driving that vehicle. It could be a friend who's just borrowing it or a wife or something like that, and then you have something horribly wrong happen. You want to keep your numbers limited and you want to see the feedback from the vehicle and then spread it wide.
Can you repeat that last part, Jimmy?
You want to use a small group of people to test, and then once it's all finished, then you spread it wide.
But Jimmy Dallas says he wants to be part of that early program. So what do you say to Dallas?
I would say I don't disagree that they could maybe do what Apple did, where a user could opt in, but right now that program doesn't exist.
I mean, I think even with Apple, like it's not like they're sending out their alpha versions to customers they know nothing about just because they opt in. I'm sure it's kind of like the stage like 4, 5, or 6, whatever. Dallas is saying he
Well,
wants to be part of the program that Omar is, or the next version, the next group. Where he wants to get to like first few percent. So what can Dallas do? First of all, other than pronouncing the guy's name correctly in the first place. Right, Dallas, I'm going to give you one more chance. So his name's Ashok, not Ashok. It's Ashok. Okay, Ashok Aluswamy. So why don't you say a few good words about the Tesla AI team and why you are such an excellent choice for the early access program?
I don't think that's my point, but
Now you lost it again. You had 2 chances, and you're like, no. Then why should they send it to you?
all I'm trying to say is I think it should be an option. I don't want to be in a small group of
No,
people. I want the group
it's
to
not
be
gonna
larger.
happen. All right. Well, I want a pony. Omar, how are you?
Hey, doing good. Sleepy from staying up and testing the new FSD build, but good.
All right, good. Honestly, like right now we have about, let's see, 71 likes on YouTube, and I have no idea how we got those 71 likes because the last half hour has been a shit show. Lots of technical problems, people not getting facts right. They have connection issues. Can't answer basic questions. Horrible. But I think we're gonna do better in the next hour and a half. So Omar is here now. He was sleeping in the first half hour, and the quality of the space dropped by a lot. But now it's back. Let's go. Jimmy.
do you want to know why I should be the first adopter? Because I make videos, I record my screen, and I'm very critical of my findings. And Tesla can use all of that to build off of.
Omar, let me ask you something. if you were not part of the early access program today, and you were an average user who comes to the space every day, listens to all the descriptions that happen on Tesla and FSD, and you had 1 minute to make a case why you should be part of the early access program, what would you say?
Well, I mean, so they've had the early access program for a number of years. It always kind of sounds better than it is, right? So imagine they had a factory that made meatballs, but every once in a while a ball of shit gets through and it's coming off the line and they're saying, "Hey, who wants to be the first to test whether it's a meatball or shit, before it gets to the customers?" You don't necessarily want to be in early access for that. I mean, it was great to get the new build yesterday. It was, another level of smoothness. The actually smart summon seems to be improved. But it also, we were driving in the carpool lane. Suddenly it just got out really quickly. In like half a second, I was like, huh? What just happened? And then, we were driving and it needed to get into the left turn lane. And it couldn't because there was a car in the way. And then it was just like, okay, let's just turn left, even though the left turn arrow is red. I'm just gonna, turn left on the screen light. And it was fine. It didn't crash or anything, but it was like, okay, that was, kind of an issue. It was braking a little harshly. The reason that they have the early access program instead of just sending it to everybody is because with every new build, there's also new issues that pop up.
All right. People want to hear about end-to-end highway release. How is FSD doing on the highway?
Yeah, it's really good. It's like superhuman. Human, but better than human. Like the level of precision in its path is just, it could lull you to sleep. That's how smooth and confidence inspiring it is. You just, like you're just saying a few words and before you know it, it's already merged onto the freeway and gone from the far right lane to the far left lane just so smoothly and naturally. The new end-to-end framework is something that produces results that are what you would do rather than what a robot would do. With the old framework where you have all this, code, how they say we remove the 300,000 lines of C++ code? Well, they didn't do it for the highway stack. Now they have. So when you have that code, you have this very robotic driving feel, right? Because you're giving the system these rules and it's just driving like a robot. Like good examples like on city streets, how the old stack would just immediately go when the light turned green. When you train on humans, it actually waits a little bit. It checks if it's clear. So the highway driving, it's a similar thing to what you've seen in city streets. It's just much more lifelike, much closer to what you would do. Like the way the way it changes lanes is just like something else. And I was driving on the highway and I was driving in the far left lane and it had to get out in zero point 0.8 miles. And I said,
Yeah.
"What is this thing doing? It has to get off the highway in 0.8 miles and it's here in the far left lane." And so there was a car ahead of me a little bit in the lane to my right. And instead of doing what the old autopilot would do, which is slow down and get behind that car and then robotically make its way over, the car sped up past the guy, changed lanes right in front of him, changed lanes again 3 more times, and took the highway exit without a sweat. Without a sweat. I was like, "Wow, that is literally exactly what I would have done." And when you train on human driving, that's what happens. You pick up
Yeah.
on all these little things that have frustrated people before that humans do, but the software didn't do yet.
All right. So you see significant improvement from autopilot to FSD on the highway. Significant improvement in lane changes and planning ahead. Is that fair?
drives more like a human, yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Any questions on FSD end-to-end highway? Please request to speak and raise your hand. Let's go to Jimmy.
Omar, I got two questions for you. Make them really short. One, is it still slowing down for bridge crossings? Like if an exit is closed, I know that's more of a nav data issue. Hopefully they solved it. Second question, software update preferences. Do those mean anything today between standard and advanced?
So I haven't seen the first issue that you've mentioned, so I don't know if it's fixed, but many issues will be fixed moving to the new stack. Some new issues will probably pop up that'll have to be fixed too. And yes, if you go into your software screen, you can select standard and advanced. And the people who select advanced will be more likely to get the software first compared to standard. So if you want to see the new software, you're okay with dealing with some of the new issues, you can put it on advanced. If you want the software that's really stable, then set it to standard.
Okay. Omar, can you explain the difference between max speed? So something changed with the auto speed versus max speed. What's the difference?
Yeah, so speed has been a big issue uh, for people. I hear a lot of complaints about it driving too fast or too slow. So they've kind of changed the auto speed. Now they have a max speed offset, so you can set how fast you want it to go. This should help people who are dealing with the software wanting to drive too fast. So you can now, with the new auto speed, scroll up and down on the scroll wheel like before and set the max speed. But I noticed it didn't really seem to help my issue, which is that it's driving too slow, like under the speed limit. And I don't know if it was maybe because it was night, it was foggy, it's a new version, I don't know. But it's just driving, it's just choosing to drive under the speed limit and you have to push the accelerator. So this is kind of a major step back for me. I like using autopilot to go fast. So this is an issue, but hopefully as, the version matures that improves. But for people who are dealing with it driving too fast, you now have that max speed. It's not going to go above that max speed. So it's great to have that level of control again. I think it's very necessary for the highways. And they've also introduced some new speed profiles. It's now called chill, standard, and hurry. So the assertive mode is now hurry mode. And you can set it to hurry mode when you want it to hurry. If you're on the highway, you can scroll up and down on the right scroll wheel to raise and lower the max speed. And you can push right or left on that scroll wheel to change between chill, standard, and hurry profiles.
Thank you very much. Do you think that hurry change is just branding, or do you think something changed the code?
Um, I have seen it hurry a little bit more than we're used to. Not in terms of speed per se. It does get up to speed at times if you kind of let it wait long enough. But you saw it doing some hurry kind of moves. So I approached a traffic light where I was in the middle lane and there was a car in front of me. And right as it approached that car, it changed lanes to the left into an empty lane. And I said, "Oh my God, I love that." I always do that. When I'm driving manually and there's an empty lane, I never get behind the other car and say, "Hey, let me wait for this dumbass." I always get into the empty lane. And the software just did it. And it did it smoothly, naturally, quickly. And it was just like, that's great. That's what I do. So when it does the things that you want to do before you do them, then you don't need to intervene. You don't need to touch anything. You need to press the blinker. It just hurries.
Good. Paul Ryan, what's your question? 10 words or fewer.
Running 12.5.4, yellow lights are stopping and braking hard, and also it crashed into some grass on S.
Okay, was that a question?
Yeah, my question for Omar is for the version 4 hardware. Are they planning on releasing new software? Do you have anything new with that, or is it just still going to kind of have to work through the bugs?
Well, in the case of actually smart summon, it's not always going to do the right thing. So you have to watch it and make sure you lift up your finger if it's, for example, going to go on grass or something like that. So be super careful. You are still liable. If your car hurts anybody or does anything, you're going to be responsible. So, pay attention closely. Keep the car within your eyesight. In terms of harsh braking for yellow lights, I haven't seen it brake for yellow lights harshly in particular. It seems to kind of coast through the yellows, which is good and what I like on hurry mode. But I did a little bit of harsh braking at times on city streets. It was going to make a right turn and there was a car coming. It braked a little hard, but that's something I expect them to fine tune as the software goes out. And I don't think they're going to release any more versions of 12.5.4. I think 12.5.6 is going to be the software going forward.
Good. Kwai.
Omar, on the highway for Cybertruck, just pushing the turn signal, how's the lane changes?
On Cybertruck, it's pretty great. I mean, honestly, it's amazing FSD on Cybertruck's ability to make really tight lane changes. Like I was on the jam-packed 405 LA freeway at rush hour, and I mean, it just does it. It gets you to where you need to go. It's really incredible for such dense traffic in such a big vehicle, and it can navigate through. It really is something. I don't know how they did it.
Jimmy.
Yeah, do we see any range extension on AS? Because like it's fantastic, but I just can't do the 280 feet. Like it's not enough. Like, do you see that going up, anybody? Like, we need it.
Well, they just doubled the range in the last update, and I think they'll continue to extend. I tested AS in the driveway of my house, and before with AS, it always used to pull out of my garage, and then it would stop at the end of my driveway. It wouldn't pull onto the street. But this time, AS actually pulled out of the driveway and turned onto the street all by itself. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I can
Hey,
literally
mine did that too.
yeah. So I can literally just pull the car out of the garage with my app and then get an FSD and start driving.
Wessex.
Hey guys, Omar, quick question. Do you know if the legacy S and X's will get AS?
Yes. Legacy S and X will get AS before the end of the quarter.
Thanks.
Dallas.
Hey, Omar, on the current version, there's a slider where it resets every drive and it says frequent lane changes on or off. Is that just built into the profiles at this point?
I have not seen that setting in this new version. Presumably, the chill profile would encapsulate the lowest amount of lane changes.
Any other questions on the new release? Jimmy.
What version is he on? Is he on 5.6 or 5.5?
I got 5.5 on my Cybertruck and 12.5.6 on my Model 3. We'll probably take the Cybertruck to 10.10.
Okay, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about any other questions. FSC, please request to speak. We're going to talk about Tony Sakanagi's comments on CNBC. We're going to talk about Tesla energy growth rate, especially power walls. We're going to talk about Tesla working on 4 new batteries, according to the information. Legacy Auto News, GM, Altium, Stellantis versus unions. Also, Lucid versus Rivian. And plans for logistics for 1010. We're going to talk about all that. So we have a lot to talk about. But before that, I'm going to read audio ads for our sponsors who make this space possible. to show your appreciation for our sponsors, please go to the replies and say a quick word of thank you to them. And also, to grow this space, you have to go up to the top of your screens, click the YouTube link, and click the like button. It really is a direct correlation, one-to-one direct correlation. I need the 400 people in the space right now to go up to the top of your screens and click that YouTube link and click the like button and share the video with people while I read these audio ads in the next 30 seconds. Joa, Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. And because you're part of the Tesla Live community, Joa is hooking you up. Use code TSLA Live for a special discount at the checkout, and pay more. Paymore buys, sells, trades, and recycles electronics because Paymore believes the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Join the Paymore revolution. Visit one of their 100 stores near you or visit paymore.com. All right, so let's see how many people did that just now. Under that 2 likes, 102 likes and counting. Let's see if we can get to 120 before we continue. Great. Crunch.
Okay. I have two items. While we're on monetization, from yesterday, I had a question. Like, does engagement and like you mentioned, posting comments enhances engagement? Does it apply to like people who like or respond or expand comments? And I have another comment on end to end.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the question. I really appreciate when people care about the growth of the space and the YouTube channel. It's very important. So the listeners, speakers, as much as you encourage and share it with people, I really appreciate it. Any engagement helps, Crunch. So likes, sharing, comments, and when you're commenting below the video, detailed comments, questions, replying to others, in-depth discussions are more important than just saying, I liked kind of thing. I mean, even though that helps as well, we really need in-depth discussions below the YouTube video. So if you have a question, if you want to share your view about anything that's being discussed, do it below the comments or live chats. That all really helps. But specifically, and Jimmy will remind you this, specifically, you want to share the YouTube channel with others. The YouTube channel is hard to find right now because we don't have that many subscribers, only a couple thousand. Once we get to 10,000 subscribers, it's going to be easier to find. So it's a hustle. We got to hustle it there. We got to share it. Friends, family, colleagues, everybody. So thank you very much for the question. And what's your second question?
Okay, the second has to do with end to end and highway stack. It's amazingly improved since 12.3, 12.4, but it's still brake checks when you're doing following traffic. When you enter a freeway interchange, it always drops down to 55 and everybody crashes into your back. And then but it is crazily improved on lane changes, like what Omar was saying. Like, if anybody has driven the California southbound 91 transition to the southbound 55 and had to go over a right to left 6 lanes of traffic over a very short distance, even when manually driving, somehow it's started to do it. But my main safety concern is it's very late on responding to lane change requests with the signaler. It just, for some reason, it like waits like 10 seconds before it
Okay.
even starts.
Omar,
That's it.
any response?
What version is this? Is this 12.5.6?
No, I don't have I don't know. No, this is 12. No, it's not the most recent one. I have to check.
Well, the most recent update, they've completely redone the highway stack. So hopefully it'll improve some of these issues you're seeing.
Good. Thank you very much for the question. All right, let's go to Marcel.
Yeah, I just want to say on the YouTube video link, if you click the image, it opens in an in-app browser where you can't actually like the video, but if you click the actual link, you can like it. So just in case anybody else is confused on that, wanted to point that out.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've heard that a couple of times. So you actually have to click the link, go to the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share, and I mean, yeah, people will figure it out. Well, I said it, but I keep getting the question. So, man, last night we talked in AI Amateurs why the adoption rate of chatbots is so slow. Like, even though it's fast, it should be much faster. I mean, these chatbots are so helpful. I use them dozens of times a day. Michelle uses them hundreds of times an hour, but 99% of the world doesn't use it even on a daily basis. So we talked about that for 2 hours. And then this morning, I come to my coffee shop and I watch these two people try to figure out how to use the payment system, like all screen payment system, for 10 minutes. I'm like, this is going to take a while. Omar, what do you think about Tony Sakanagi's comments on CMBs? Actually, before that, Wessex.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. I saw or I listened to the first 30 minutes so far of the event, the AI Amateurs space last night. Great stuff. Salesforce is right up my alley, and I want to participate in these, but Monday nights are difficult. So request is for to move it to Tuesday night. Hopefully I'm one of many, but definitely want to participate and join that in the future. It was a great space for the bit that I was able to listen to.
Okay, I will consider your request. Thank you. Omar, what did you think of Tony Sakanagi's comments on CNBC?
Well, what did he say exactly?
Yeah, let me read a couple of sentences here. He said he doesn't expect a launch of service anytime soon. He said they're going to unveil the Robotaxi dedicated model available maybe in 2027, maybe in 2028. That's one. There's like 5 more comments. We're going to continue one by one.
Well, I think probably this is going to be in production within 12 to 18 months.
Okay, probably 12 to 18 months for the dedicated Robotaxi. Omar says, we'll see. And then the second comment he made was, which is more the controversial comment here, he said, it's going to be difficult for Tesla to leapfrog existing players. Uber is partnering with Waymo. Waymo is doing 100,000 trips per month. And at a safety level that's nearly perfect, and Tesla is not even close to it.
Yeah, I mean, Tesla in pretty much every metric that matters is ahead. And if you put Waymo into a similar situation where you just dropped it anywhere, it would perform even worse than FSD. If you took out the remote monitoring they have, it would perform even worse than FSD. I mean, you can just go sit in the car yourself, and the Waymo's more robotic. It has more harsh braking or unnatural moves. I mean, people are going to be in LA. Come try Waymo in LA and then come try FSD in LA and let me know who you think is ahead. One is on 700 cars. One is on, 400 to 700,000 cars, right? So really, it's no contest. What is the alternative to Tesla that you can buy on the market? Nothing. And I wouldn't expect an analyst like Tony Sakanagi, who's always making bearish comments on Tesla, to understand that. But I think that's what the 1010 event is going to highlight. I mean, you look at crashes prevented, miles traveled, number of cars using the software. It's the number one self-driving technology in the world, both in terms of usage, both in terms of where it can work. It can work anywhere. But also in terms of its technical capabilities. And they're much closer to the finish line of a global ride sharing service at scale than any other company I can think of. And really, when you look at the robotics element of it, which is going to be a crucial element, where's the Waymo robot? Okay. We need that robot to bring the pizza to your apartment from the street. We don't want you to have to come out of your apartment, right? Then you'll just order a human delivered pizza because you're lazy. So you need the robotics piece of it to really realize the full value. You
Yeah,
need service, you need charging, you need everything. And Waymo doesn't even want to do these things.
exactly. I think that's one key thing that people miss. What you said last, which is Tesla is working on a turnkey solution when it comes to robotaxi combined with humanoids, combined with Neuralink, combined with Starlink. This is a 5, 10, 20, 30-year vision, not just trying to get to robotaxis. That's what Tony Sacconaghi misses, and that's why he has $120 price target on the stock. I see Machine in the crowd. If he wants to come up, there's one more comment that he made about valuation that I want to talk about. In the meantime, Uzi, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to gauge Omar's thinking on the question we had last week. Which is more of a threat to Tesla, Waymo or Figure AI?
Yeah,
Well,
we talked about this before. Uzi, please don't change the topic before you clear it with me. Dallas?
Yeah, back to the Waymo point. I mean, I think it's a classic case of tortoise and the hare. You know, first to market, but Tesla's going to come and do it right, even if they're not the first to market. It kind of reminds me of the HTC Evo back in the day when 4G was this cutting edge, mind blowing technology, and everyone wanted to get the HTC Evo just because it was the first phone to have 4G, and now no one even knows what that is. So I do believe that in the not too distant future, we're going to look back and be like, remember that Waymo company who had self driving cars? That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, right now, most of the investor community and really everybody involved in the space sees Waymo as the leader in autonomy. And I think Tony said Tesla is somewhere in the middle of the pack. And the video at the top of our screens, the one-on-one chat with Omar, explains why Tesla is ahead. So if you could please go up to top of our screens and repost that video, I would really appreciate it. Doesn't look like Machine is going to be able to come up here. Maybe he's busy with something. So Omar, here's a valuation comment that Tony Sacconaghi made that I think needs some in-depth discussion to prove it wrong. So Tony Sacconaghi of Bernstein, senior research analyst, he's been around and covering Tesla for a long time. He has a very low share price target, 120. And the primary reason why he believes that is the case is he values Tesla Automotive at a very low level. And he says there's a $600 billion premium above that. But there are a lot of questions about the robotaxi service. What will the economics be like? Even if Tesla gets to a technical achievement where it's safe enough for robotaxi service with camera vision only, when is that going to happen? What's going to be the regulatory picture? Are they going to be able to get the regulatory approvals? And even if they do that, what's the competition is going to be like? What are the margins are going to be like? That is his argument, that even though the $600 billion is baked into the stock price today, all of these questions are unanswered and they're not going to be answered anytime soon. So what's your argument against that?
well, Tesla today is the only self-driving company in the world that's making money. Not a lot of people realize that. Waymo's burning $2 billion a year. Cruise is burning cash like crazy, making Mary Barra cry. Zoox is burning money. Even Mobileye is losing money selling ADAS. Everybody's losing money. Tesla is the only company that's been consistently posting a profit while also developing this technology. And I do think those economics are going to carry over into the robotaxi world. I mean, it really just is no contest. And when we really think about an economy where You know, a robot could make a sandwich for you, bring it out to the car, go deliver it in an autonomous car, and then bring it to your door. You're really talking about the automation of large swaths of the economy. So, what is the value of the global labor market? That is your TAM now. I don't think he gets it. The technology they're working on, gathering data from millions of cars, is about refining a model that can automate virtually any economically valuable labor. And we're starting with driving, but I think what we're going to see at the We Robot event is them expanding even beyond driving. First off, I think in driving, they have economics that are going to be very tough for anybody else to beat, especially when you look at the technical underpinnings of their system. But with Optimus, they're even taking it a step further and exploring a much bigger TAM that the other ones who are really focused on competing with Uber aren't really thinking about.
He actually, funny you said that, because he actually brought up specifically Uber. And he said Tesla's valuation today has a $600 billion premium baked into it, primarily on robotaxi expectations. But if you look at Uber, it has $150 billion valuation, and only half of it is due to US business. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he says, I guess my question for you is, do you think 1010 event is going to answer any of his questions in a convincing manner with facts and data, whether Tesla's able to gonna get to the safety level required for robotaxis in the near future, whether they're going to be able to navigate regulatory um, side of things faster than Waymo has been, and whether they're going to be able to compete with Uber plus Waymo.
Well, yeah, I do think it's going to answer a lot of his questions. I do think they're going to be able to not just compete with them, but mop the floor with them. And it's going to become increasingly clear at the event. I think Tesla's really going to lay out their vision for this. They're going to lay out why nobody else has what they have. And I mean, it's really funny. Like all these people who are saying, oh, well, we have real self driving services now. That's bad for Tesla. Really? Self driving is finally solved and this is bad because, oh, well, Waymo did it. Okay, Waymo started 7 years before Tesla. If Tesla finishes it in the next 7 years, they'll have developed a autonomous solution faster than Waymo. And Waymo has shown that you can work with regulators, you can get it on the road, and it can be safe. So a big number of question marks on, for example, the regulatory process are no longer question marks. There's a very defined process now. So this is all very positive for the industry. I think it's all makes it a little bit easier for Tesla. But, you know, you just look back at some of Tony Sakanagi's comments in 2018. He said, I don't think Tesla can make the Model 3 profitably, and there will never be a $35,000 version. Go check out the website today. What's the price of the long range rear wheel drive? It's $35,000 after the tax credit, even after all the inflation we've seen. And of course, Tesla's profitable. Nobody saw that coming. In 2019, he said he was concerned about their cash position and whether they would survive. Well, they survived. And guess what? They got a big pile of cash now. In 2020, he said Tesla stock was overvalued. Anyone remember what happened after 2020? In 2021, he said he has limited limited confidence in their long-term EV dominance with all the competition. Today, Tesla is still the number one EV maker. And in 2022, he said that FSD has failed. And, well, we've now seen FSD 12. So, frankly, this guy is a great contraindicator. When he says something isn't going to work, I get excited because it reminds me of all the times before when he said it wasn't going to work, and it did.
All right. Any other responses to that question? Anyone who wants to respond to Tony? Wessex?
I'll just add a little context to this. One of the things I find fascinating about comments like Tony's regarding the competition, Gary Black, Gordon Johnson, one question really would create a problem for them, which is, can you explain what the competition's technical approach is to solving autonomy? And the reason why that's important is because many people in this space here understand that for years Tesla has been hand coding, writing code to solve this problem, only to come to the realization that that's not the best path. And then they invested billions in NVIDIA chips and everything they're doing to use AI to solve this problem. No one else is really doing that. And so when you say that competition's close or they're going to get there, again, explain how they're going to do that without having billions in NVIDIA chips and the AI team that Tesla has. And it can't answer that.
What are you talking about? Waymo has access to Google's TPUs. Waymo uses AI. Waymo, Google have excellent AI engineers.
Yeah, that's right. Waymo's the only one that would even be close, in my opinion. But there's some questions about Waymo. For instance, are they going to drop the other sensors and only go with vision? I think they're the only ones that even have a chance. So you make a good point, but aside from them, you really can't argue that this space is going to be occupied by a lot of competitors at all.
Wessex, what did you think of the video at the top?
Is this the Tony video?
No, this is my conversation with Omar.
I really liked it. I listened to all but the last 30 seconds. If you're talking about the one from the weekend, oh, that was great. I
Yeah,
commented on it yesterday.
yeah. Omar, what do you think of Wessex's comments that Waymo is the only one? And do they have plans to drop LiDAR? And do they actually need to drop LiDAR? What do you think?
If not for the Google self-driving car project in 2009, we wouldn't have self-driving cars today. It wouldn't even be something people are talking about. So they were the first to do it. They're the best and biggest driverless service in the world. And the Google team's very smart. And I enjoy using Waymo often. It's great that I can just call a driverless car. Like, it's so great. Hey, come pick me up, driverless car. You can sing, you can scream, you don't have to worry about the driver. It's consistent, it's great. All the benefits we've talked about autonomy, it's real and you can experience it yourself. So I definitely recommend everyone do, but Waymo also kind of sucks. And there's a lot of things it can't do. So yesterday I had it drive me from Palos Verdes to Los Angeles and back, and Waymo can't do that because it's outside of their service area. Waymo's really expensive. For the cost of 5 to 10 rides, you can get unlimited FSD driving all month, right? And eh, like that picture I posted where I wanted to go take the train to Santa Monica. We have got a train, and the thing took 24 minutes to arrive, the Waymo. It cost $24 to take me to the train station. The train was $2 to get me across town. It cost 10 times more to go 1 mile to the train station than it did to take the train. So that's just the reality of the service, right? A lot of people, like I say this often these days, they don't know where the finish line is. You don't judge a marathon by who's the first off the start line. The finish line is people actually don't have a car anymore, right? Because this service is so good or this technology is so good that you don't need a car. You have to actually make it highly available, have tons of cars. You need to make it so that it is actually cheaper than driving yourself, or else people will continue to drive themselves to save money. So there's a lot of work to go. And by the way, they're losing tons of money. If they actually price this at the level where they're profitable, rides would be zero because everyone would take the manually driven ride instead. And they still have remote interventions. You can see them. When you're in the car, your car just stops and it goes, "Oh, we're working to get you moving." And I've seen Tesla FSD handle scenarios that Waymo needs a remote intervention for. So behind all the fuzzy marketing, it's easy if you're not using something, you can imagine it as like this perfect thing. But take some time, use it in Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles. You'll see it's perfect, but we're just getting started on autonomy. These systems need to get way more intelligent, way more capable, and way more autonomous than they are today. And they need to be scaled to the entire world, not just a few cities. So there's a big, big task ahead. And if you really look at all the companies, I think it's pretty clear and is going to become increasingly clear that Tesla is going to be the first across the finish line. Maybe not the start line, but were they the first company to make an EV? No, the first EV was 100 years ago. Were they the first to make it in the modern era? No, GM made the EV1, but they killed it. They did it the best. They scaled it the best, and they dominated the industry.
Thank you. Wessex, are you convinced?
Well, it sounds like Omar and I pretty much agree. I just add a little extra context too. Take Gary Black, for example. He reasons by analogy when he talks about this topic. And he says that in technology, when someone's ahead, all of the competitors quickly catch up. Instantly, that tells me the guy doesn't understand how Tesla creates their FSD product, how they use AI, because he wouldn't actually say that if he did. And the same thing applies, I think, to Tony Saganaki and some of the others.
Okay. Yeah, somebody in the reply says, why are you being a jerk to Wessex? The reason, and I am being a jerk, the reason is because he made a wrong statement. And you just simply cannot make wrong statements on my speaker board. Dallas.
Yeah, I think going back to the deeper conversations video with you and Omar, I personally enjoyed the section about where you talked about the transparency Waymo has with their statistics. And I think that's something that Tesla could benefit from. And maybe that's something that's discussed at the upcoming event.
Dallas, did you work on your 30-second elevator pitch to Ashok?
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's hear it.
Ashok, listen, I can benefit you and your team beyond belief. Not only would I be your best member in the best city, in the best state, in the best country in the world, I'm here for you day or night. You can call my cell, you can call my wife's cell, you can call my mother's cell, even Machine's mom's cell. I'm here for you.
All right. There you go. Dallas says, Ashok, please send it to me. I want to be part of this program that develops the most important software in the world, saves millions of lives. I want to be a part of it. And you can call me anytime, 24/7 on my cell if you need anything. There you go. That's a good pitch. Dallas?
Yeah, one follow-up to that, and I'm sure there's other people who follow this as well. Omar, how does Tesla know who we are and who our cars are if we don't have our name in our profile?
Oh, they know everything about you. They know when you're bad, when you're good. It's like Santa Claus, okay? They've got a database, they've got all our Tesla accounts, and they've got our X profiles all linked. So when they tweet something, they can say, okay, let's see who this guy is, let's dig into his issue. And they read everything. They have a team of people who read every tweet about Tesla and forward it to the team that's responsible for the issue or feature they're talking about. Doesn't mean they're always going to respond, but they do listen very closely to social media, and they try and fix the things that people are complaining about.
Dallas?
So we don't have to have like the same email or anything. Like even if like for my account, I don't have my name or my vehicle in any of my posts. That doesn't
Dude, you are one of the speakers in Tesla Live. You're here every single day. They know you. Relax. Jimmy?
Listen, I've sent in enough dick pics that they know exactly the length of girth and everything. Okay.
All right. We have a lot to talk about. Tesla Energy, Tesla working on 4 new batteries, according to the information. Omar, any comments on that? Tesla working on 4 new batteries, according to the information.
It's interesting. I mean, it's hard to really know what it means. You know, when you have these leaks, it's kind of like a game of telephone. Like somebody told somebody and somebody told somebody. So are they actually planning to ship 4 new batteries? Or are they just working on 4 different designs in the lab and they're going to go with one? You know, either way, I mean, it's not really surprising me that they're continuing to work on their cell program and advancing the cells. I mean, you know, it's Tesla. The cells are going to continue to get better and better. They're going to make more of them. They're going to try and advance the technology, you know, dry coating, that type of thing. So, um, I think what they're doing with the cell program is pretty amazing, honestly. I mean, there are entire companies that just focus on making cells. And if what they're saying about dry coating is true, it could dramatically reduce the capex and time and space and energy needed to make a new cell factory, which ultimately means faster ramp ups. So I think it's great to see. It's not really material to the business yet, but before the end of the year, it will be, because they'll now be able to make 4680 cells cheaper than what they can buy from Panasonic.
Alexander.
They could probably get Northvolt for a pretty cheap buck right now.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say every time Tesla ramps up anything, the price of like batteries go way down. I've noticed that on the used market as well. Like I'll often look for batteries and the pricing is just falling flat on its face. Like you can get a whole new Model 3 Tesla battery for like $5,000, if not cheaper.
Okay, good. Couple
Actually,
of
like some congressman has Model S batteries powering his home or something.
Yeah, I saw that. You can actually buy 2 tied together Tesla batteries and you can power your house with it. I don't want to get on this topic, but it's crazy what people have done with these things.
Okay, good. Couple of housekeeping items. I try to improve this space every day on a continuous basis. I actually spend hours thinking about new ways of doing things better. And one of the things I think we're going to go forward with is maybe more structured topics, time limits on topics, and we're not going to kind of blabber on with, you know, continuous statements and just kind of just discussion with low value. So I'm going to be more strict going forward with speakers, and so expect that. And then secondly, for 1010, we're going to have our usual space on at 1 p.m. Eastern. Omar, what time does this event start?
I think 8 p.m. Eastern, the doors open. Maybe a couple hours after that, the presentation starts.
Okay. So we're going to have our space that day, and then I'm going to have a watch party on YouTube with a few of the speakers, whoever can make it. I'm gonna send them one link that is just kind of invite only, and then live chat will be open. So we're gonna watch it together, and during the presentation, live chat on YouTube will be active. We're gonna be making comments, and maybe I'll use the screen space to show a couple of things here and there every now and then. But I expect it to be an active live chat, hopefully with hundreds of people contributing to it. So that's how we're gonna do. We're gonna do a watch party on YouTube, and now we'll have an after party after the presentation. And for that, I might have a space. I'll probably have a space open and do our regular live stream at the same time, simultaneous cast on YouTube type of thing. So that's the way it's going to be on 1010. All right. If you're in the speaker DM group, you'll get an invite, and hopefully you can make it. We talked about 4 new batteries. Let's see what else. Let's bring in this person who had difficulty staying on mute. Let's see what the question is. Crunch, what's your question?
Okay, going forward, Yaman, I know you read the live chats in real time, so going forward, I'm not gonna raise my hand anymore. I'll just wait for you to call on me. But on this item, this goes back to hands-free FSD at the very beginning and some other things that have been mentioned. I believe networked ride sharing is much more important because one, it exposes non-Tesla owners to FSD and makes Tesla economic operating advantages viscerally real to riders. Two, it forces regulators and ADAS competitors like Waymo that can't even drive on freeways to recognize FSD safety and operating advantages. Three, rapid deployment due to owner popularity from easy income and from Tesla app convenience. Four, should be ready to enable, that is on 1010. And just to add that that's my 30-second elevator pitch to Ashok and the team to overcome my 72 safety rating. Thanks.
Look, you guys don't want early access, okay? It's really not that great. People go, I want the update, I want the update. Then they get the update, they go, oh my god, this update sucks. Get me back on the old version. What a regression. They send you the update when they know that it works well and it's not going to do anything that is going to make you crap your pants. So if you like crapping your pants, then go bother Ashok and tell him to put you on the early access program. For most people, it looks great. Oh, what a cool video. It's usually not ready for you to actually use.
Exactly. Well said. And this is why Omar is part of the early access program because he gets it. I think a lot of people just want to be part of this exclusive club, you know, but it's really about you're doing work to develop this software. Hustletown.
You're already part of this exclusive club. You're getting Tesla FSD before everybody else. So if you're on 12.5, 12.5.4, whatever, Omar's taken a bullet. And thank you for your service. I will get the FSD update whenever they deem me worthy. And I will appreciate every moment on any build that they choose to give me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Hustletown. Let's go to Tesla Energy. Switching topics to Tesla Energy. Tesla Energy is growing fast. Tesla made a recent announcement that Powerwall production is increasing. Omar, do you think Powerwalls will become a material part of Tesla's bottom line in the next year or two? Powerwalls and Megapacks, let's say. A lot of people out there are expecting these high growth rates to continue for years to come. But I kind of worry sometimes that the regulatory red tape in US and also let's say in China, like I think people are expecting an even bigger growth in China. But do you think like there's a possibility in my view that the Chinese government can prioritize installations by their own battery makers rather than Tesla due to national security concerns with their grid? What do you think?
I don't think there's necessarily a national security concern there. But I mean, power walls are, so we're actually buying some power walls for my parents' house right now. So we're buying two power walls with installation and everything. It's going to be about $20,000. So it's like buying a small car. And as if that wasn't enough, that you have to pay $20,000. You got to have them design a system and file a permit with the city, and the city needs to approve your building permit. It is not a business that I imagine just seeing, hyper growth, right? Where people can just buy it and install it. It takes a lot of money and a lot of time. And that is going to make it a more niche product. Now, if the price were to drop by a factor of 10 and it was, $2,000 rather than $20,000 to get 2 power walls installed, it would be a lot more popular. I mean, you're seeing what's happening with all these storms, with all these crazy hurricanes. People who are equipped with Powerwall or PowerShare are very glad that they made the investment. So I think it's really an amazing product. We're getting it for my parents' house. I want to get it for my house as well. But I don't necessarily know if it's going to be material or hyper growth, especially compared to the vehicle business or FSD. But really, the electric grid, building a 21st century electric grid, this is a big theme. I think Megapack is actually a much more material product to the business, the larger size utility batteries. And you're really seeing people realize, wait a minute, okay, if we want to be competitive in AI, we need a build out of electric infrastructure like we've never seen before. And I think Megapacks and, to a lesser extent, power walls are a big part of that solution. Things like the virtual power plant technology. So I do think this is a much, much bigger business, the energy business. And, the world needs much more batteries than people realize. But in terms of the Powerwall, I think it's a great product. I recommend people get it. But the regulatory red tape and permitting is something, as well as the high cost, that makes it something that I don't expect to see, hyper growth, like 50% CAGR or anything like that.
Okay, so you don't expect a 50% CAGR on energy?
Not for Powerwall, no. On
Not for
Megapack,
Powerwall.
maybe.
Okay. On Megapack, maybe. Interesting. I think that's contrary to most people's expectations in the Tesla bull community. So let's go around the speaker board real quick. Uzi, do you agree with Omar's statement that Tesla Energy CAGR, compound annual growth rate, will be less than 50% for Powerwall specifically, and maybe also for Megapacks?
Honestly, this is my weakest area in Tesla, so I'll pass.
Okay. Who feels confident enough to respond to that question? Hustletown.
I'd say when you're thinking about California and you're talking about red tape, I would agree. But I don't. When I got my power walls, I got one initially, and then I got another two. There was very, very little red tape. I think they're going to expand their power wall production. Like my wife saw power walls in Japan being sold at Costco. I I don't know. Compound annual growth rate for 50%. I would say eventually it will. I think the red tape won't be much like California is all around the world, and I think Megapack is just going to explode. So I would take that coffee bet.
Okay, so Hustletown says CAGR will exceed 50%. Jimmy.
I think it will exceed 50%. The reason being is even in my state of Minnesota, they will give you $70,000 towards solar and power walls in your house as a state and federal like tax incentive. The other thing is I do have a cousin who's in Nevada right now, and he's working on BYD Powerwall installations, and those are not part of tariffs. So even if we tariff China for like BYD cheap electric vehicles, that has nothing to do with their power walls. And they are here in America, they're selling them, and they are currently installing them.
Okay, that's good information. Thank you, Jimmy. Good to have you on the board. Yeah, we need to understand this better, Tesla Energy business. I think the range of estimates for Tesla Energy's growth rate and also profit margin is extremely wide across the Tesla community. It's way too wide for a business that's been around now for about a decade. Let's hear all source Tesla. Your sound quality is real low. We can't hear you. Want to try again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I follow Tesla Supercharging pretty closely. You can pull up their app and you can see the demand for each hour block for each of their chargers in the world, and except China. And I pulled about 20 other sites, all in Texas, and they're making a ton of money on their chargers. I know the demand charges in Texas for energy for commercial, and I mean I'm talking like 60%, 70%. Let's see, gross margin. I mean they're like 90% gross margin, and then you gotta factor in the demand charges. If they're like high demand chargers, they're making like 80% operating margin because they, you get charged your demand bill for whatever the peak demand is for the site, and they hit that on day one, and then they just get so many people charging, and what they're doing
Okay.
is
Let me ask you a couple of things.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the 80% operating margin estimate with specific numbers?
Yes. I mean, I've got, let's see, columns A through AV, but essentially they charge, 37 cents a kilowatt hour. Let's pick one that just has one time block. Okay. So they charge different prices per time block. Except some sites, they just have like 37 cents a kilowatt hour across all 24 hours. But some sites they have, during peak hours, it's like 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So I take that and you can look at the bar chart and you have to guesstimate, okay, are they at like 10% utilization, 50% utilization? So let's say they're at 50% utilization, meaning half the stalls are occupied for that block, that hour. And let's say they charge, 100, they're charging at 100 kilowatts or 125 kilowatts is what I'm estimating. For that hour, they would dispense 125 kilowatt hours across, let's see, this first site has 12 stalls. So that's six, let's say it's 50% utilization, that's 6 stalls outputting, we'll say 100 kilowatts, 600 kilowatt hours. And they're charging, let's say 50 cents a kilowatt hour, that's $300 for that site, for that hour. And so I just go across, all the blocks of time, and you get to essentially, let's see, this first one will sell 10,000 kilowatt hours a day. That's like $5,000 for that site that has no employees working there. They just made, $5,000. Divide that by number of ports so that I can, multiply that across the whole supercharger fleet, I guess. So you're looking at 1.5 million in revenue at that site, 12 stalls, 1.5 million in revenue. In Texas, they charge 3 cents a kilowatt hour. So, I mean, they basically make 90% margin. The cost per kilowatt hour in Texas is like very low. So if you're selling energy, your gross margin is like, in the 90%. But then your peak demand, if Tesla hits 750 kilowatts, which is their site max, because it's 3 cabinets, each cabinet pulls 250, split across 4 ports. 750 times $10 is 7,500, or 75. 750 times 10 is like 75,000. So, 75,000. So, I mean, they're making $1 million. They're making 90%, 1.5 million. They're making 90% gross on that, and then they're doing, $100,000 in a demand charge on $1 million. That's 7% of their revenue. So they get hit with 7% on the operating expenses, and they only get hit with like 8% on the gross. So, they're making like 85% margin at that site.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that Tesla's paying for electricity only 3 cents per kilowatt hour?
In Texas. So this is very difficult to analyze.
I understand, but is that across throughout the entire day, or is that certain times of the day?
That's throughout the entire day. They don't care. Yeah.
Okay. And you said no employees, but what about any assumptions for stalls being down, service of the stalls, depreciation of the stalls, and the rent that's being paid for that site? What about all those costs?
Yeah, no, I'm not factoring in the rent space, but these are usually like, yeah, that would take it down to, 70%.
What do you mean you're not factoring the rent cost?
Yeah, sorry.
What do you mean, sorry?
I
You
don't
can't come up here
know
and
what
make
it
these
costs.
claims that 80% margin, 90% margin, completely against. This is not funny.
I mean, I
Not,
said
this,
operating. I don't think that hits the operating line.
oh,
You would know
okay,
better.
so you don't know accounting either. It
I
hits
do know
both the operating
accounting,
margin. It hits both the operating margin and the gross margin, and you completely excluded one of the biggest expenses.
That's definitely not
Jimmy?
the biggest expense.
Yeah, well, we're in the process of buying a building and possibly opening up supercharging network there. So we're talking to Tesla about this. Yeah, renting is expensive. One of the things I wanted to mention in here is I think you guys are looking at this from a gas point of view because when people put superchargers and things in their home, they're not going out to fast and superchargers and things like that. Those are usually going to be used for travel. So those numbers are going to be a lot shorter than what you're describing. It's in selling personal home power chargers and power walls. That's where the money comes in. It's not going to be in the network.
Yeah. You can just scratch basically everything that he was just saying. It also has nothing to do with what we're talking about, which is energy storage. All right. Let's switch topics. So we're going to table the Tesla energy topic for now. We have a bit of a disagreement on CAGR assumptions going forward on megapacks and power walls. And margin assumptions also have a wide range. So it's an area where we can discuss further in the future and debate specifics. But we have other things to discuss too. Angela, go ahead.
Thank you, Yemen. So I guess my question is around regulation of the power wells, right? So, as we know, utility companies are heavily regulated in our country, and that is how our government is established and the regulation. So how do we kind of conquer that battle there? And what types of relationships can maybe Tesla move forward in doing so to get the Powerwall? I think it's a huge growing opportunity, to be honest, with Tesla. I think the margins can be huge. And I think this is a bone of contention with a lot of individual homeowners. I know I live in Arizona and our utility bills are, are outrageous. So I think there's so much opportunity, whether it's working with solar companies, working with the, utility companies. It gets back to regulation, just like FSD. So I'll stop there.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
why Elon is on Tucker Carlson Network,
Yes.
trying to get people to change their votes. I don't know if anybody would listen to that 2-hour conversation, but I listened to the first half of it. Angela, you have to stay on mute when you're not talking. Thank you. First half hour, I didn't get a chance to listen to the entire thing. I was getting ready for the space, but I'm going to finish that tonight. And he made a lot of good comments that are kind of eye-opening, honestly. Like, I think there's a lot of deep thinking and experience behind the things that Elon is saying on this matter. And they're very completely different, the opposite of what you hear from mainstream media. So I think it is important that he is out there, sharing his views, exercises of freedom of speech. And I can't wait to finish that interview. So, Jimmy?
Well, I can tell you from my experience, the number of things the government has screwed up creates a large opportunity for these private businesses to help people when it comes to all different types of things, such as power. I mean, look at the price of gas, look at the price of electricity. This is a great market for Elon Musk and Tesla to be in right now because they can get what they want it to be and they can sell these things at a low cost. They can get people off these networks and grids that they're locked into.
Thanks, Omar. Any comments on Angela's question?
No, no comment.
Okay. And thank you, Hollis and Mika, for the $5 super chat on YouTube. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Angela, I think regulation is a big topic when it comes to Tesla Energy, especially on utilities and the fact that this is a very local matter. And I think and hope that if Trump wins, that they will make some progress on that front. I agree with Elon that this is a big major limiting factor on so many on really human progress, I think. But Omar,
Yeah, I think, one factor that I think is very powerful is the long-term decline in battery costs. So if you really look across several decades, like the last 2 or 3 decades, you've seen battery prices fall by 90 to 97%. So, I mean, it's just crazy when you look at over decades how battery costs have declined. And if you just project this out forward and power walls are, let's say, in a decade or two, 90% cheaper than they are today, both to build and install, the market's going to be much bigger. As a matter of fact, I'm confident that every home will have a battery pack in it of some kind, right? Whether it's an EV battery or a power wall long term. So this is going to be a very different sort of power grid. And, two, I think the other factor is with the rise of AI, the electric grid is now a national security issue. The the country that has the best AI is going to have a major military advantage over a company with inferior AI. And to train the best AI, the biggest AI models, you need a massive electric grid build out. I mean, you look at Elon's XAI data center in Memphis, they had to have gas turbines brought in just so they could power the thing. So getting these facilities interconnected to the grid and everything, it's slow, it's bureaucratic, there's a lot of red tape. Texas is really the best at this, which is why you've seen renewable power grow like crazy there. I think we could see that across the board if we saw major reform that is needed to make sure that we have the electric grid needed to support continued American military supremacy. So, battery costs are going to decline over time, and we must have reform of the regulations around our power system. These regulations were really built for an age where you didn't have massive power growth. Things were kind of fine. We didn't need massive new build outs of power. We didn't need a transition to renewables. Now that these things are happening, that we have this major transition, this major need to build out a 21st century electric grid, I'm hoping Congress can come together in a bipartisan way to cut red tape, reform, and allow us to do what we need to do. I don't know if you guys have seen that graph that's going around where you see China's electric production compared to the United States and just the slope on both of those lines. We need to make some major changes or we're going to be left in the dust.
thanks, Omar. While we're on the topic, let me ask you about the interview, Elon interview with Tucker Carlson. Do you have any general comments about it? Especially what he says
I
at the
haven't
beginning.
watched it yet, but
you've seen the beginning, right? You've seen the beginning where he says, if Trump loses, then
it's
like I'm
the end
done.
of democracy or
Yeah.
the end of the world. I don't think that if Trump loses, it's going to be the end of the world. I love Elon. I think he really wants Trump to win. I mean, he said in the interview, like, "Hey, if Trump doesn't win, I'm screwed." But is the world literally going to explode if Trump doesn't win? No, obviously not. But you often see this kind of rhetoric in politics where things are just exaggerated a little bit.
Anybody on any comments on the interview? Anybody on the board? Angela.
So Omar, thank you for that. I guess okay, so here's kind of where my rub is right now. We've got foreign affairs that are so run amok right now, and we have no relationships and no leadership. So I think that that's the biggest fear. Where I commend Elon to say that, as much as I love him, and that's a really big, heavy statement. We have such serious issues on our hand right now. And I just believe that from a global perspective, if we don't have leadership at the helm, and I don't think Kamala, and sorry, I don't mean to get political because I really am not a big political person. If we don't have that leadership, we're going to be taken advantage of, and we are really going to fall even more behind than we are today. So I commend him for
Dallas.
making that statement because Trump will be a leader and he will be at his side.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you.
amazing. Thank you.
Dallas.
Yeah, I found it interesting that they really did talk about how who do you want? They didn't say this directly, but who do you want in the situation room, right? Like, there's policy, there's all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, when they send you down to the situation room, who do you want? At the table. So
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to dwell on politics. Just want to see if people have watched the interview and any comments on it. What I really like, like one of the things I really like about Elon is that when he talks about these issues, like his tweets may be kind of like sometimes a little too much and they'll maybe crash a little bit rough around the edges. But those tweets are coming from somebody who's dug into these topics at an extreme level. And when he does these long form interviews, you see that. When he opens his mouth, he backs it up with numbers, facts, sources, layers and layers of thinking into that issue that clearly no one else has done that. All right. And that's the level of, that's what I want from my speakers on this board. I need people to provide facts, figures, analysis, contrarian insights that are correct, and instead of hyperbole and same thing over and over again that is not backed by facts and figures. We need to shift this space towards that a little bit. If I could dial one thing, I would dial that a little bit to really deep insight that you won't be able to find anywhere else. And sport. So Dallas, good luck following that.
yeah, I'll try to be specific. So referencing to the video, I think the portion that I took the most from was the example that he used about the victims of the Hurricane Helene. He had boots on the ground, experience from that incident. It was a firsthand example of government stepping over their own toes and getting in the way of solving the problem at hand. And that was getting communications to people on the ground who needed it most.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Otherwise, we're going to switch topics. All right, switching topics to automotive, back to automotive. We're going to talk about legacy auto news, a couple of news that are on GM and Stellantis front, and also Lucid announced numbers. And there's a contrast between Lucid and Rivian. We're going to talk about that as well. So let's start with GM killing Ultium. GM killing the Ultium program. Omar, did you hear about this?
No, that's pretty big news.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to the drawing board. They hired somebody from Tesla about a year or 2 years ago, and they're working on kind of creating this R&D lab that produces better batteries at a quicker time to market. So that's what I know. If anybody else knows anything else about it, please request to speak and share more details. GM sounds like going to the drawing board on their Ultium program. And the second news, Omar, Alexander, go ahead.
Yeah, isn't that like 5 years too late to go to the drawing board?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're at least trying, I guess. I think GM and Ford put billions of dollars into these things, and they had little success to show for it. And maybe when they go back to the board, maybe they'll come up with something new, but I'm not holding my breath. Second piece of news, Stellantis is suing 8 lawsuits their unions. I know, Omar, you tweeted about this last night. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, these unions are just literally killing the company. Stellantis may die because of these unions' demands. And that's why they're suing them. I think they filed a bunch more lawsuits last night. I'm not sure if they have any grounds to actually sue the UAW, but it is sort of fun to watch them fight with each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little it's a shame that companies are at odds to this length with their employees. I mean, they're supposed to be a team. All the different stakeholders, suppliers, customers, employees, investors are supposed to be a team towards a common goal, and we just don't see that. Legacy automakers, and you throw in dealerships as well, and it's a mess. Stellantis is probably the worst position right now. And up to last year, people were singing their praises, their CEO's praises, because they were making tens of billions of dollars in profits. But that's because they raised their prices. And now, when the market is going the other way and Tesla's pushing lower and lower prices in line with its mission, companies like Stellantis just can't keep up. They can't cut production cost as fast as Tesla can. So, and the other news, Lucid announced deliveries. Lucid announced quarter after quarter after quarter of record deliveries. But they're doing this at the cost of negative margins. And it's probably going to be even deeper negative margins than we've ever seen before. Their Lucid Air price starts at about $71,000, and they're discounting these cars by up to $20,000. So they're selling Lucid Air by about $55,000. And that's competing with Model S, obviously. So I think this is what Elon means when he says there's a bit of a glut in certain segments. And until these companies go away, it's going to be hard for Tesla to go back to the margins that we've seen in previous years. Omar, any comments?
Yeah, they're going to need to sell a lot more than 2,700 vehicles if they want to be profitable. Hopefully, their new Gravity SUV will help. But how is this company still alive? Right? The Saudis just keep writing them checks every time they lose all their money. Okay, Peter, here's another check. You know, and they seem to be happy doing it. I don't know. So the business doesn't seem to be driven by the unit economics of the business at all. They're just losing a ton of money, obviously incentivizing heavily as the rest of the industry is doing. But it's really just a business that's being kept alive because the Saudi PIF keeps writing them checks. So the real question is, what is their patience? If, for example, we saw oil profits fall to the point where the PIF feels they need to conserve their capital, then that could be the end of Lucid. But simply losing boats of money doesn't seem to be enough. They need to actually have their, they have a very supportive investor. That's the reason they're still alive today.
Right, but this is a risk to Tesla investors in the near term, at least, right? If the Saudi can finance Lucid losing billions of dollars for, let's say, 10 years to come, what does that mean to Model S, Model X margins?
I mean, they're one fish in the sea, right? So you got Mercedes, you got BMW, you got Lucid, you got all these companies. And incentives are reaching as much as $20,000 per car. That's the level we're seeing on some models, some Kia models, some Mercedes models, discounts of up to $20,000 off the list price. So, yes, it does impact Tesla's ability to charge for their products, but it's not really going to be sustainable long term. You can keep giving them money in the short term and let them sell at lower prices, but eventually you have to make money as a business. There's no way around that, right? And eventually their patience will run dry. While they're doing well and the oil industry is doing well, it's easy to continue funding this company just for good PR. But as time goes on, they will eventually find themselves in a position where they're financially strapped. And at that point, Lucid may need to find a new backer.
I think you're underestimating the risk here. And here's why. Saudi Arabia makes billions of dollars a day selling oil. Any day they slow down Tesla by financing these negative margin cars from Lucid is a day that they make $1 billion more. So they can go on for a long time, right? I thought you were going to go with something like FSD. Lucid can't, they're not in a position to develop FSD. They don't have the training cluster. They don't have the expertise to develop autonomy. And maybe people will choose the Model S over Lucid Air because of its robotaxi capabilities. What do you think about that?
I mean, the volume is so small. Like, Tesla's doing 40,000 units a week. It's hard to really say, Lucid even at 2,700 units a week is, or sorry, a quarter is a threat, right? I mean, we're talking about like in one day, they deliver more than Lucid delivers in an entire quarter. So, like I said, they're one fish in the sea. There's a lot of money losing EV companies out there. The Saudis are just a small part of the mix. I mean, they're a significant player right now, but I would honestly call Mercedes, BMW, even Kia, Hyundai, Genesis more of a competitive threat than Lucid. And maybe that changes if Lucid works its way down, offers a Model Y competitor or something. Maybe they become more competitive, but at 2,700 units a quarter, it's just a rounding error.
But couldn't they do the same thing with Gravity SUV or another model that is cheaper that would sell in higher volume? Just finance billions of dollars of losses.
Lucid is one of the worst performing EV companies out there. Their execution has been extremely poor. We own a Mercedes EQS for my mom. My mom has a Mercedes EQS, so we didn't buy her a Lucid. We bought her the Mercedes, and it's kind of a nice car. It is nicer than Lucid in many ways. It has little massage seats. Yesterday, I was driving it to the mall. I was getting a massage. So, like I said, they're one fish in the sea. Ultimately, they probably have less staying power than some of the established legacy automakers, in my mind.
But let me know what you think. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know what you think in the comments below the video. And let's have a discussion on this. Alexander.
It seems to me it's a race about who can bleed the longest. And as far as I know, Tesla is not bleeding.
Yeah, Tesla is not bleeding. You're right. However, Tesla is not bleeding in the sense that Tesla is not losing billions of dollars in free cash flow, just like a lot of these automakers are. I mean, Stellantis is now losing about $10 billion a year in free cash flow they forecast. And Rivian is losing billions of dollars, but Rivian doesn't have Saudi Arabia as a backer. Saudi Arabia, it is a fact that they make $1 billion in profits per day selling oil, something that Tesla is trying to displace. So what's the billion, 2 billion, 3 billion that they can't throw Lucid's way? 5-minute warning, 5-minute warning. Wessex?
Yeah, I'm not concerned about Lucid. The way I look at Tesla is there's now 3 vehicles in kind of the top tier low volume area. That's the S and the X. And of course, now the Cybertruck. Prior to the Cybertruck, the S and the X have been selling about 15,000 units a quarter. And this last quarter, that same tier, including the Cybertruck, sold 21,000. And we estimate most of those were Cybertrucks. So the Cybertruck's really eating into the S and X volume. And I'm guessing around 6,000 of that was the S and the X, considerably down from the 15,000 in previous quarters. And so you're looking at 2,000 something, 2,800 Lucids and 6,000 or so S's and X's. I think that even if we took all that market share back, if we sold every single one of those, instead of Lucid, people buying Lucids, they bought S's and X's, we really wouldn't recapture much of the market share that we previously had in that sector. So I don't think Lucid is the real near-term threat in any capacity. And of course, like Omar said, this is not a company that's demonstrated they're capable of building in high volume. So I couldn't imagine the Gravity threatening anything in the Y and the 3 space, probably ever.
I'll take the other side of that. Wes, how much do you think Tesla was making on Model S and X gross profit, selling 100,000 of them a year?
On a per unit basis, I think around, my guess around 10,000.
Yeah, I think that's where you're wrong.
What do you think it is?
Back in the day, when these two vehicles were in full production, so we're talking, end of 2016, 2017, 100,000 units per year, they were making about $5 billion. And that's gone right now. Gone. For various reasons, not just Lucid or Rivian. And in part because of the Model 3 and Model Y being options now. Back then, they were not options that people could go to. But Lucid Air has been able to sell thousands of units that could have gone to Tesla. And I think electric sedan-wise, luxury electric sedan-wise, people like the product Lucid puts out. Like I said, they delivered quarter after quarter after quarter of record delivery. This is a very different story than Rivian. Omar?
I mean, so even Rivian at their lower level of 10,000 units is 3 to 5 times higher than Lucid, right? And Tesla, I mean, in the same quarter, Lucid delivered 2,700. Tesla delivered 462,000 vehicles. Okay, if you want to look at just their higher priced vehicles, S and X and Cybertruck, they did 22,000, 23,000, almost 10 times the volume of Lucid. Okay, let's exclude Cybertruck. Let's just look at S and X. Even at 7,000 units, they're more than double Lucid sales. So, the volume is small and they're losing money. I do like their drivetrain. I like their 500 miles of range. I like their technology. But what Lucid hasn't been able to do is translate their great technology into a product market fit for the user. And, this segment, the high end segment, has just become kind of crowded. A lot of people are losing money on it. Certainly, Lucid is one to watch, but I don't really see them posing a major issue to Tesla in any way. I mean, they're part of a bigger problem of the market being oversaturated, but even
here's
with these record sales, they're way lower than Rivian.
That's I agree with you. That's factual. But here's what I'm highlighting. Lucid can keep this going. Rivian cannot. So even though Rivian could be taking more contribution profits today, that's not the issue. The issue is Lucid can be financed for billions of dollars of losses every year in perpetuity and continue to be an alternative to Tesla's vehicles. That's the problem. I have a huge headache, okay? And that's why I gotta go. I need some rest. The last 48 hours has been intense in terms of Tesla Live, the interview with Omar. I'm glad it's so successful. I'm glad Tesla Live is successful, making great strides, but I need some rest. Thank you very much, everybody. And I will chat with you tomorrow. Take care.